We'll just hit start. I was gonna add the intro, but or the not really an intro, but just the James Doom overview picture. But
We can add
turns
that later.
turns out well, yeah, it's true. Turns out I spelled my name wrong.
Yeah.
So, so you look at the old podcasts, it's Zach Kendi as the host, but not me.
I think that's why no one's been watching.
Probably
They
they're
think
like, oh,
some-
my friend Zach's doing a thing. Oh no, it's Zach Kendi. That's not the guy I know.
Also, for today's show, we're going to be just using one camera because we decided that since this camera is so much better than all of the others, it makes sense to just use it.
I'm tired of having a blurry face and then a perfect face in the next shot.
So until we get at least two more of this exact camera, we'll be doing it with one camera. But we do have a nice little feature for today's show where we've got a little screen view.
little bit of a screen view. So like we just saw the release of Cyberpunk 2077. I don't know if you've seen anything about that game at all.
I
It's
haven't.
got Keanu Reeves in it. That's what made it a huge thing. And everybody loves Keanu Reeves. And then it comes out and it's supposed to be like one of the most innovative and best open world 3D adventures to date. And it was so bad on PlayStation. It's really bad on all the consoles, but it was so bad PlayStation actually took it out of their store. Like,
Oh yeah, I did see that. Okay, yeah.
So yeah.
Everyone was complaining because like they got it out before all the bugs were fixed.
They did, and it's another example of how. And I'm not trying to call anyone like a bitch or anything, but it's another example of how gamers can get a little impatient. I mean, myself too. I've been impatient with games coming out.
You heard it from Zach Kendi.
Yeah, you heard it
Gamers are
from-
bitches.
Heard it from Zach Kendi.
Not a sponsor.
It's not the fact they're not bitches. They're just bitching about things. So it's like this with all of video game history. To me, anyways, in my opinion, it's been like this forever. But at the beginning, I feel like there wasn't as much bitching about glitches and things like that because it was still like very new. And
I mean, neither of us were there really, so
Yeah.
it's just like what we've read. But from what I've read, I feel like a lot of people did bitch back then, but we didn't have the internet, so it wasn't like a widespread bitching.
yeah,
They were just silently bitching and returning the game.
plus the only word we hear about older stuff is nostalgia usually.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you think about E.T. and like down the road now, people have realized that it's actually a good game, but like how that's been heralded as like the downfall of Atari.
well, I mean, it really was. It wasn't, but it was, and I've got some notes on that too. I guess we won't even need to look at the pictures first. I'll go ahead and pull up some notes. So yeah, a lot of people did consider that the ET game the Fallout. So for anybody who doesn't know, what happened was December of 79, 78. No.
It would have been like 83.
82. 82 and 83. So I think the game came out December. It came out December of 82, ET. And of course it's a direct port from the movie basically. You're just helping him get through some great little mazes and stuff.
Yeah, it's exactly like the movie.
It's exactly like the movie. It's so bad it ruined an industry. The game was actually, and I don't. It's not the only cause for destroying the industry, but it led to something that we call the video game crash of 1983, which is
Right.
literally a crash of the market in games. And like I think there was like a huge surplus of consoles at the time as well. So
Yeah.
what happened was you've got all of these game consoles coming out. I mean, you've got like 20 to 30 consoles at this time in the 80s or 70s and the 80s coming out at every year, 20, 30 consoles every year. And this specific year was supposed to be a big year for Atari, but then they released ET, which pissed so many people off that their estimated growth of 50% of overall items sold out of Atari that year turned out to be between like 10 and 15%.
Yeah.
And that is a direct quote from, like, I'm reading that from where I wrote it down last night. But yes, this ultimately led to the video game crash of 1983. And I've got a little quote from New York Times and PC Mag. It says, in September of '83, Atari sent 14 truckloads of unsold Atari 2600 cartridges and other equipment to a landfill in the New Mexico desert, later labeled the Atari Video Game Burial. While long considered an urban legend, the site was excavated. The right word? I can't see. I don't have my glasses. The site was excavated in 2014, discovering that roughly 700,000 cartridges had been deposited there. There's actually a really cool documentary on that as well.
I've seen that.
I don't know if we watched it together, but yeah, I've seen it as well.
I think it's funny because before I wasn't reading ahead with you there, so when I was about to say, and you know, people thought it was an urban legend, but it actually...
Oh, yeah. It really happened. So I guess you do, and now that I think about it, you do kind of see a history of people bitching. It's just, it wasn't as widespread because of the internet, which can be said about a lot of things. So what does it actually take to please a gamer? So, like, compared to now and then, you know, there's huge differences, but really it's always been the same until something new comes along.
Like, can you imagine if in, let's just say 1982, if in 1982 a game came out that somehow miraculously worked on the Atari, or even, just for the sake of argument, let's say they release, like, the PlayStation in 1982. Like, can you imagine, like, anyone bitching about glitches?
Yeah, it's awkward because I don't think I could imagine anyone bitching about it. It would be a different world. Like,
I think that the thing at that point would be that they would be more forgiving of it. It's like, well, okay, it's taken forever to load, but damn it, look at these graphics.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we kind of do that now. Like, when a game is taking forever to load, but it's, like, so far beyond anything else, it's like, well, obviously it's going to take it a while to load all of this.
Right. When I had, there's a few games I've had downloaded on my PC, and my laptop, but it's just a laptop. It's not really it's not like a gaming computer. It's a gaming laptop.
It's kind of like a generic gaming laptop.
Yeah, it's like a generic Alienware. It will run everything up to date. It's just not what I want. So anyways, oh hell, no, that made me forget where I was going with that one. I don't even remember. Loading screens. So yeah, anytime I see on my computer that I'm, you know, waiting 5 minutes for Red Dead Redemption to load, I remember that it's a 120-something gig game, or however big it is, and then, you know, we're a little settled.
Like, think about, like, all of the Final Fantasy games that came out on, like, 2, 3, 4 discs, however many.
Yeah. And Red Dead, by the way, I think is one of the first games to be released on a new console that requires 2 discs.
Seriously,
since those games.
Is it a Blu-ray?
Yeah, they're Blu-rays. I don't understand it. I don't know
how big is that game.
Well, it might be bigger than I'm thinking. I think it could go upwards of 150 gigs. A lot of games are now, and
because I think a Blu-ray is like 40.
Well, it has a data disc. You put it in, and it installs like 75% of the way, and then it asks you to put the other one in, just like an old PC game, and then it finishes, and then you use that second disc as the play disc. I don't know.
See, I feel like the fact that there's play discs at all still.
I'll tell you what it is. They probably are using Blu-rays that can hold like 70 to 80 gigs, and Blu-rays can hold more, but to get the ones that can hold more, you got to get the double-sided. And the problem with the double-sided on a PlayStation or an Xbox is that you can't put the label on the front. So I don't know if that's why they don't put it on one disc, but I'm pretty sure all of the Blu-ray discs that can hold that much are double-sided. If I'm correct, I could be wrong.
I don't think I've ever seen a double-sided Blu-ray disc.
I've seen double-sided Blu-rays. No, I actually have some. I have some. So,
can you imagine a movie that you know how they used to have to get 2 VHS, and I don't think I ever saw one that was even 2 DVDs. But can you imagine a movie that would have to be like 2 Blu-rays to complete?
No, we've put the entire Hobbit and Lord of the Rings extended cut on 2 Blu-rays here. They're both double-sided.
Shit, I think that would probably just fit on one Blu-ray though, even for that.
You could put Tolkien's work all on 2 double-sided.
I mean, think about getting a full season of like Star Trek on Blu-ray, and it's like 2 discs or 3 discs or something like that.
Yeah. Well, it's weird. There's one show. We got an entire. Hannah and I bought an entire season of X-Files on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
It's like 3 discs.
Was that filmed?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I guess it.
Probably was in the beginning, and I bet it switched over.
I haven't. But I mean, it wasn't like taped, so that's why it was able to be HD. I haven't actually watched it in a while, but the way I remember seeing it looked like it had been filmed. So
it does look like that. I don't know if it's an effect.
Because there's a distinct difference to film and tape. You can tell the difference.
Yeah. With as many effects as they did, I'd say they probably just went digital. Because at the time it came out, digital was available.
Well,
but it also started as a small show.
That was also that was around at about the same time as Star Trek: The Next Generation, and they filmed, but the effects were in standard definition. They did the effects on tape, so that's probably how they did it. And the way that they've gotten around that with the Next Generation is that they'll go back to the film, but then they'll like redo the effects, so it's more CG effects that they've added to it.
And this is why we can't get Elton John live in Sydney, Australia on VHS yet, or VHS on Blu-ray yet. We can't even get it on DVD yet. So anyways, going back to the, I guess my main topic for today's little powwow was supposed to be the price that gaming companies have to pay to satisfy their gamers. So I pulled up a little bit of price comparisons, and people bitch about all kinds of things. I mean, myself, I do the same thing. Every time I'm playing Skyrim, I'm like, Jesus Christ, you guys ported it to a new console and still didn't fix the bugs? Like, what I mean, they did. They fixed a lot of things, but let's be fair, they didn't also. There's a lot of things they did not. So, when you're comparing prices and overall fun you have playing a game, there's a whole group of gamers that will bitch about any and everything, and then there's a whole group of gamers that just like us that just like it all and really don't care.
I'll sit there and play an old game longer than I'll sit and play a new game usually, which maybe that's because I have more readily available for me to play.
Right. I find myself switching back and forth a lot. Like, every now and then, like once a year, I'll try a new game out, and then I'll just, for the rest of the year, I'll play games that came out 5 years ago, and then games that came out 20 years ago. And
it's like I'll sit and play Crash Bandicoot all day.
Yeah, I don't ever see myself. I'm not that kind of gamer where I'm just like, I gotta have all the new games. The only games that I keep up with now are Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
And Call of Duty. I'm getting a little burnt out on. I stopped really caring.
There's nothing new. Like, you get one Call of Duty game and you've got them all, basically. You just go shoot people. Like, there's...
Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of games. Like, I was playing Hitman, and that's basically all that is. However...
Well, see, that's the thing for me. Like, with first-person shooters, if I've got one... Like, I've gotten other ones. Like, I had Call of Duty, and then, like, what was it? I think L.A. Noire was one.
It's a good one.
And I got it, and I'm just like... This is basically just the same thing, so I just got rid of it. I'm like, I don't need both of these games.
And let's just be honest. Once you have Grand Theft Auto, you've got every game.
Yeah.
But
like, I'd rather play Grand Theft Auto over any of those. As far as a new game goes, that's that. And I mean, I like which, you know, we're probably enraging all gamers right now.
Oh yeah, I'm sure everyone's pissed. Oh, of course, fucking idiots only like Grand Theft Auto.
But like, I like Kingdom Hearts too.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And so I'll play Grand Theft Auto, Kingdom Hearts, which that's not really a new game anymore anyway. They haven't done an update in a long time.
Well, they've got wait, which game?
Kingdom Hearts.
Okay, no, they've got Kingdom Hearts 3.
I haven't seen that.
Really?
No.
Wow. And now people are really enraged. Now people are like really mad. Like, wow, you guys are doing a whole podcast on gaming and you don't even know.
I've never even played the second one. So.
Okay, well, yeah, well, then that's fair. So yeah, the new Kingdom Hearts is actually really cool. They've added parkour aspects to it, so it's a little bit more free roaming now.
See, that would be great if they made Kingdom Hearts more like Grand Theft Auto.
You will love this. There's a the way they're doing the graphics now. So in the old games, first, second one, all the way up until now, when you go enter a world, you are entering a world as regular Sora, regular Donald, regular Goofy. In the new one, when you enter the world, you're entering it as your character, but drawn and created with their graphics. And so, let me put it into perspective. They added Pixar to the Kingdom Hearts 3. So Pixar wasn't in any games before, and now they are in there. So it's Disney and Pixar. No, it wasn't. There were no Pixar games, and now there are.
Okay, well then maybe I did know about Kingdom Hearts 3. I just haven't played it.
Okay. And obviously the one that everybody wanted in there was Toy Story.
Yeah.
So when you go into the Toy Story world, you're a toy. You're a toy version of Sora or whatever character is the main character for Kingdom Hearts 3, which I think is Sora. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Which I think is Sora. Now you're pissing off.
Look, I have it. I have the game, but I don't.
We're here doing a whole gaming podcast, and we're pissing off everyone watching it now.
That's okay. I don't care. So it's good that we brought that up too, because that's another thing people bitch about is the amount of time it takes to release a game. You know, back in the day, it was from 75 to like 84. There was like 20 to 30 to 40 game systems released every year, and it never failed. And
if you want all of these complex graphics and worlds and things, it's not as simple as creating Super Mario, which that's pretty complex in itself.
Yeah.
But compare that to the games that are coming out now. Even the most simple game that you could think of that came out right now, Paper Mario. I don't know. Think of how much more there is into that. Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting how a simple game can be the most fun, and how the most complex games can get shot down. So you also have people talking about, well, not people, me. You also have people like myself mentioning, oh, what about Scarface? It came out in 2006, and it's like one of the best games ever. You can run your own cocaine empire. You can own your own businesses, and they move the drugs for you, collect money from them. You have to do shit. You have to run your own shipments from overseas back and like do all these really cool drug running missions, business missions, assassin missions. You live the world, and then everybody was like, oh, it's just Vice City made over. No, it's not. To me, it's not, because Vice City was a game based off of the movie Scarface.
Kind of like Crash Team Racing, and everyone's like, it's just
it's Mario Kart.
It's Mario Kart.
Or Donkey Kong Racing for the 64. People said the same thing about that one.
It's got the same premise, but I think that Crash Team Racing took Mario Kart and made it better.
Oh yeah. I know so many people who would agree with that. Definitely. I love Mario Kart, and I think I would probably choose it over Crash Team Racing, but after playing the revamped version, the remade version of Crash Team Racing, it's so much better.
It might just be that I grew up with Crash Team Racing, so that's my nostalgia.
Right.
But, if you ask me why I thought it was better, I couldn't tell you. So I think it is a lot of nostalgia for me.
Yeah. And for a lot of people, nostalgia, there's no price that's gonna kill them over nostalgia. So like for me, if I see
I do know one reason. The Crash Team Racing, it seems like it's got like a darker tone to it. So it's not. It doesn't seem like it's so kiddie.
Well, Crash always had a darker tone. What's his name? The evil dude in there.
Cortex.
He's freaking weird. Like, a creepy dude.
Yeah.
If they made a movie about him, I probably wouldn't watch it.
I think that's one of the big things for me. I mean, I don't know if there's any different special powers that you get on one versus the other, it seems like they're pretty evenly done.
Yeah.
Plus, the PlayStation seems like the games kind of ran better. I like the controller better for sure.
And you're going back to PlayStation 1, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was gonna try to stick to second gen on this conversation, but I don't think it's gonna work because we keep jumping around.
Yeah.
So I like that. It's okay. So with PlayStation, I feel like they kind of had to try harder because they came out of Nintendo, not like Sony broke off from Nintendo, but they came out. PlayStation exists because of Nintendo.
It's sort of like Blockbuster and Netflix. It's like Netflix went to Blockbuster first and was like, "Hey, we've got this idea."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Fuck you. We don't need to do that." Brick and mortar stores are the way to go forever.
Wait, they have the Sony Nintendo story as well? Is it like the same? Okay. Because, I mean, that's what happened with Nintendo. And there's a lot of people who know this now because of the internet, but for a long time, nobody knew this. And so what had happened was Super Nintendo, for a lot of you who have the original Super Nintendo, not the Super Famicom, I don't know if that had it on there, but for the US Super Nintendo, the first edition, it has a little connection on the bottom. And essentially, Sony was originally going to make a CD drive for the Super Nintendo, much like Sega CD, which I think was just made by Sega.
Some prototypes of.
There are some prototypes drawn up that I could find online.
Oh, I thought there was like an actual.
I've never seen an actual one. Everything I've seen is like faked, like photoshopped or faked.
I feel like I've seen one, but maybe that's the case.
But so
we could look it up.
Oh yeah, we can. So yeah, there's a little connection on the bottom of your Super Nintendo if you have one, and it's there because they had made a CD drive for it, and Nintendo, I don't remember if it was they didn't want to pay Sony enough or they just didn't think it was good. I mean, obviously they wanted to do it, otherwise they wouldn't have asked Sony to make it. So I think it was probably just a pay issue.
I don't remember. That's another thing we should look up.
A pay or a copyright issue. So
because I feel like that they had already gone into development of it, and they were working on it, and I feel like that's the case.
Okay, well, we're gonna save this picture real quick so I can pull it up in a minute.
So see, that's what I was talking about.
That's probably a real photo. I thought that I've never seen that picture. So the ones I've seen definitely are fake. I've never seen that one. I've never even been able to find that. I looked for it. Been like 10 years since I looked for it. But
can you imagine playing Crash Bandicoot on that?
Oh yeah. Probably terrible.
Yeah.
Because so that's the thing. Like if you look at games like with Super Nintendo, if you look at games like Jurassic Park, it had almost PlayStation 1 graphics. Like it could support almost 3D graphics. But obviously,
it's kind of like there's some NES games that are almost 16-bit.
Right. I'm trying to think of the best way to do this. Can I like do stuff on this while it's recording?
What do you mean?
Like add a picture to.
I think so.
Oh no, I don't have to do that. I just have to open the picture.
Yeah.
Duh. I'm such an idiot, guys. I'm. Not it. Oh, that is it.
Now they're.
What?
Now they're also learning that we don't know how to run a computer.
Sometimes you just can't get the thing.
Can you sort it by most recent?
Can I not just save that one picture? Good lord.
Maybe just pull that up like that, because... Oh, there you go.
Should be in the show now.
You'll have to...
That is an image, computer. An image.
There it is, right there. So it's in console and game development. It's still there, so you didn't delete it. There we go.
There, now it's showing up as an image.
And now we can switch.
All right, now we can show you what it looks like. So that was what Sony was going to do for Nintendo. What they did do for Nintendo.
And you'll notice here. Disk drive there, and then on the top, I think that there's a. Yep, there's the cartridge.
It was going to be called the Sony PlayStation 4, the Super Nintendo. And look, you even have play, stop, and next and back buttons, so you could jam out on that thing. You were going to be able to play tunes on that. I don't think the Sega CD had that capability.
But then the super disc, that's not like SACD, so like I wonder what.
Probably some kind of form. I'd say that's photoshopped. Of course, I don't see why it'd be photoshopped if these are here.
No, I've seen people like physically holding these before.
I have not. I didn't know they even like still existed. I thought that was just like a prototype somewhere. So
see if you can find them on eBay, because I feel like you can find one.
So even the companies, like very much like the gamers, have dumb issues sometimes.
See that same thing.
I guess people do have them. Oh. So did they make multiple versions of it?
Yeah, they probably came up with different designs, and the last one kind of is the closest to what Nintendo.
So there's that photo. Okay, so
there's only one. Okay.
Where does it say that?
Photo of the only known SNES-based PlayStation prototype.
Well, let's save that picture, because what that other picture was just this photoshopped out of the background.
Yeah. Now you can clearly see that it's
just so we can
a legitimate one.
Yeah.
And are those even games that they had designed, or is that just I can't tell from.
I don't know.
I guess that they've got like standard Super Nintendo controllers over to the side there.
Yeah. And you got PlayStation model.
Wonder if that actually runs.
Which looks like it might be photoshopped. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
can't zoom in anymore. It won't let me.
Course.
It looks like there's a thin layer running. But I've never seen that.
Yeah.
So that could still be real. I could just be an idiot. Plus, the camera that took the picture could have just been having a...
But notice that the font's different on the PlayStation.
Let's look at that other photo. Because now, I'm curious. Okay. No, that's the same. No, it's not. That's a different picture.
Darker.
It's all there, so it's definitely real. There's definitely one that, there could be multiple pictures of it, and the other one's just a different angle. So, anyways, oh, geez.
Well, I wonder if that's the only one that's actually a functioning one, and they made like design prototypes. I don't know.
Could be that too. Yeah. Did not mean to copy those. That right there makes me want to go back. So, with first generation games, you had games like Pong and Tic-Tac-Toe and
war games.
Backgammon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to say back problems. I don't know. You had games like that where there wasn't really a cartridge. They weren't running off of ROM cartridges yet, and sometimes they would have a couple games built in. This one right here comes out in '77. It's called the Fairchild.
Morgan Fairchild.
The Fairchild. So let me pull that. Could have pulled out the other.
Oh, you're getting a toll-free call.
Ooh, cool. We might have to take a break from this just for a minute.
Also, let us know what you think about the new lighting.
Definitely, definitely.
It'll need some tweaking, but
I'm not answering this toll-free call. You know what? I'm gonna start answering calls on the air. Just like Judy. So
we should do that though. Like if we were live streaming and we could take calls,
well, I can set it up to where we could do that.
like we could get a one of those separate numbers and stuff.
They've got the apps for them that you can download off of Windows, like Text Me Now, and stuff like Text Now, all that.
Oh, so you can add it directly into OBS?
Yeah, I can make OBS record all output from the computer. So yeah. Yeah, OBS, by the way, we'll take a break from gaming for a minute to just talk about a free sponsor here. Free sponsor. Nobody's paying for anything. OBS is fantastic. If you have Adobe Premiere and OBS, you shouldn't, other than the equipment it takes to run a podcast or game streaming or anything, you shouldn't need anything else.
And I'm sure that there's an open source. What's the word? It's not open source. What is OBS? What am I trying to say here?
OBS is
I know it's freeware, but like where people can, like how Linux is. What's the word I'm looking for? Is it open source?
Public domain.
No, that's not it.
Does that only apply to copyrights?
Yeah, I think it's open source. I think that's what I meant to say. But I'm sure that there's one sort of like Audacity is the answer to Adobe Audition.
There is, and actually, I just had this conversation with.
The problem, though, with that is that for what we do, I feel like Adobe Audacity is like it just can't do the things that we need it to do.
Yeah, Audacity is great. So, like, if we were wanting to only record audio of us talking, like if you're doing a podcast that doesn't require video, get Audacity. That's it's free and you can do what you need to. You can noise gate, you can compress,
can do stuff. Yeah, it's just
if you're looking at recording music to where you need to get to that very minute second, and you need there to be a ticker there and all that, and you need it to look nice, so you're not looking at crazy lines. You're looking at actual representations of your audio, and things like that. It's
like,
not the best.
It'll get the job done,
Definitely.
but it won't get the job done well.
And I'm not gonna sit here and vape the whole time. I'm actually working on kicking nicotine. People, it's been 3-4 days since I've had a cigarette.
It smells like strawberries.
3-4 days since I've had a cigarette, I think. Either way. I'm just trying to kick it, not trying to be douchey.
At least it smells better than cigarettes.
Much better. Maybe something else though. Something else smells better than that. No, I'm just kidding.
No, it doesn't. That smells like shit.
So where were we at?
We were talking about the Fairchild.
Right. Okay. So. Just right in front of my face too. So we're going back. The reason we're not talking about first generation games, I already told you, because they weren't really ROM cartridges. But I want to talk about the price it takes to satisfy a gamer. So in 1977, you have a console called the Fairchild, and actually, I need to be able to. Let me take that off for just a moment.
I just thought of something. Is that made by the same people as the synth?
The synth?
Yeah, the Fairchild. No, that's not the Fairchild. That's a Fairlight, isn't it? Yeah. Wow.
Well, I don't know. They might have made it because the original company that made the Fairchild was called Fairchild Camera and Instrument, and then the weird thing about their company, and this is the first ROM cartridge game console that we see come into the States. I don't think there is one before this, but this is one of those companies that worked with a ton of different people, and they had like people from all over trying to help them figure this thing out, and ultimately it didn't really get anywhere. You have games like regular baseball, a drag racing game, pinball, hangman, checkers, whatever. But most of the games that came out for it were actually just math games. Like the thing was just an oversized calculator. It had like 6 different mathematical games on it.
All right, so just to clarify, it is the Fairlight Cmi. When I looked up Fairchild,
Okay.
that's what came up, and it's made by Fairlight. It's based on a commercial license of the Quasar M8. So it has nothing to do with the Fairchild, it looks like. But the weird thing is that the Fairchild's font looks like that.
Oh,
So
interesting. So, price it takes to satisfy a game. So the Fairchild, and I can't really. This is why I needed those to be uploaded into the program there. Now that I'm remembering, because I need to be able to read this and show this at the same time. All right, so the Fairchild. At release, this thing comes out at $169, November 1976. This is close to a year before Atari releases. They're dominating. They're dominating. No, it's broken. Yeah, 1977 or 76, November, $169 at release, which is about $759.31 in 2019. So this year we had the new consoles come out, and they are $400 for the non-disc version of the console, and $500 for the version with the disc tray. So looking at inflation, $759 back then, $169 for a console that had 4 or 5 built-in games. And now, how did that happen? Because I opened that.
yeah.
So, all right, now, the reason I'm going through all the trouble for these pictures is because I really like looking at the comparisons of how they looked back then. So your first gen consoles usually was just a joystick and a button.
Yeah.
And then when they had multiple games come out, they're like, well, shit, we need more buttons.
And
Well,
like when it comes to Pong, like it's almost like a public domain type thing where everyone had their version of Pong out.
yeah, yep. I would say that's probably because they didn't exactly have there wasn't much to do about a copyright back then, because that was a new thing. Video games were very new.
Yeah.
When Pong for first gen gaming.
I mean, I don't know if we're gonna get into this, but just think about like how they used to put the code to games, books, and stuff, and then like video game guides. It's like, if you want to play this game, here's the code. Type it in. You've got the game.
Yeah. Shit, you can even do that with some things on your computer still.
Yeah.
I don't know if you
Can
knew
you imagine
that.
doing GTA, typing all the code in?
Well, on any computer still, if you open the command prompt, you can watch. I don't know if it's the entire thing. I think it's like 10 minutes or something.
Yeah.
But like of Star Wars: A New Hope, like in code. Do you know that?
No.
Let's show everybody that, because that's really fucking cool. Okay. So and I really hope I'm not wrong, and we have to cut this out because I've seen it and I've done it.
But it turns out that you can't anymore.
So we're going away from the Fairchild again, because it got canceled, and apparently we can't even bring it back to talk about it.
Yeah.
So I got to look up the code for it. A New Hope.
Star Trek: A New Hope.
Star Trek. Oh God, dude, we're leaving that in there too.
And it was on the screen too,
Oh,
so they
God.
could see it.
For people who don't know, they're like, "Did you mean?"
And it shows your browser history and everything on there.
Command prompt. Good God, if it's on my browser history, I have to just stop doing the show. How to watch Star Wars command prompt. Okay. WikiHow's usually my go-to, because they include images. Yeah, command prompt. I know how to open that. Oh, next one. Press enter. Control panel, programs, turn windows. Here's on or off. Then click.
So it's not like they just have Star Wars hidden inside of every computer.
You can do this without internet, though.
So it is in there, huh?
Yeah, I believe it is in there. You can do this without.
What fucking nerds made computers, man?
Well, let's try it out. Let's go ahead and. I think I can copy and paste in there, can I?
You should be.
EKG MGR. All right, so
we just crashed the computer.
Yeah, crashed the computer. Had to edit. This is going to be the most editing we've had to do to a podcast.
Yeah, probably. Well, I don't know. That one that we did with Dan, I had to like manually transition between the scenes.
Oh, good lord!
Through the whole thing.
So, I tried to do the Star Wars thing. It did not work. Apparently, I'm an idiot. So you can YouTube it. There is a way to do it on Windows 10, but I'm not going to sit here and figure it out during a podcast.
Can we show a video of someone doing it?
No, we can't because I'll get in trouble. Not that I would get in trouble now, but you know, let's say a few months down the road, and our podcast is making us 50 cents a month, then I would get in trouble.
Yeah, 50 cents a month, man. That's the big time.
So yeah, unfortunately, I can't show a video, and there actually are exceptions for things like I know Joe shows videos all the time, but there are certain videos that like his Jamie knows all of the laws and everything, so he's able to be like, okay, so for this video I can show you the video but not the audio, and for this video I can't show anybody but I can play the audio and all kind of shit. So there's just things I don't know that I don't want to try to,
especially if it. I mean, you wouldn't be able to show that anyway if it started showing Star Wars.
Probably not. But would I be able to? Because it itself was not created by anybody that has anything to do with Lucas. So I wonder if that's even that's a thing we're gonna have to do some research on, is laws and regulations.
Is it like the actual video, or is it like a rendering of it?
It is text that is moving across the command prompt and making the scenes of the movie.
Oh.
Yeah, really cool. I love it. So I'll actually just pull it up and show you right here. But and it sucks because there's so many laws and regulations on copyrights, like for Judy, for live television that actually goes to a cable network, she can't play more than 30 seconds of anything that's not hers, unless she has the rights to it, or unless somebody's given her the rights to it.
So how does she go about all of like the stuff she plays back on there?
She bought the rights to it.
Okay.
Yeah, she pays monthly fees for certain things.
So all those VHS tapes in there and stuff,
like for the Gaithers and all that, all of those old gospel, some of them are newer too. Some of them still release things and send them to her. For those, I think she just pays a fee. It's either she pays a fee or the cable company she's connected with already has all of it, and they,
It's kind of like what's CBS kind of.
I think so. Yeah, it's very much like that. Not how to watch. We don't want to. Oh, I don't want to. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, I see. So it's not even like the actual movie.
No. Yeah, it's not an actual movie. It's all in text.
But I thought that even with the text, it was like using the text to make it the actual video. Sort of like the mosaic type thing,
Yeah. So, you know what? I'll take a risk. I'll show everyone. And, you're not getting the right light because of that, my podcast light, but that's
I mean, you
Star
could pull that
Wars.
up on there and
I could. I'm not going to because the YouTube logo and everything. Even though I'm posting this to YouTube. But that's one of the things that Joe had to deal with when he wasn't on Spotify. There are certain things he couldn't show on YouTube, but it was because there are certain things that were monetized by other people. So it's like, well, if you show it and you're monetized, then that's an issue. Yeah. It's a conflict of interest. So it could be that. There's a number of things, but so yeah, that's just a little nifty thing you can do there. We're going to move on from the Fairchild finally and look at it one more time. First ROM cartridge console released. It had four programmed in games. That's what you see there, those buttons.
What are some of the games that are notable from that?
You had baseball, a drag racing game,
So nothing
tic-tac-toe,
really.
nothing big. Nothing big. Your basic games, and then they had created some learning games like mathematical games and things like that.
I'm trying to find a more comfortable way to sit in here. We're kind of cramped.
It's hard, yeah. We've got to get a new spot, people. Let's go to right after that.
We're sitting on fold-out chairs. I've got my coat underneath me to give a little cushion, and we're just kind of. I've got stuff right in front of me, and apparently stuff all over me now.
So, check this one out. This comes out, I believe, the same year, or a year right before, not a year before.
That looks
year
like
after,
it's from the 60s.
right? This is the RCA Studio 2, made by RCA. Came out at $149, which is about $628 in 2019. And yes, I realize it's 2021, so add a couple dollars.
Now, was it actually made by RCA, or did
Yes.
they just license the name?
No, it was actually made by RCA, and did terrible. So they never made another game console. Like literally, that's so.
Stick
simply
to cables
and
vinyl.
From the research I found, it simply could not compete with game consoles at the time. It ran less than a year before they ended production in February '78, and it came out January '77. Likely because they couldn't offer color; it was black and white. And other games that were coming out at that time.
Whatever even happened to RCA? Like, surely they're still around in a big company, right?
I don't know. I really
Because
don't know.
they owned everything. Like, think of like the record label. You've got the all of the electronics. John Denver's discography.
Yeah. So I like this one because, like you'll see in a little bit, and you've seen the actual console because I have one in this room. This one has almost like Intellivision buttons, but not really. And it also does not have controllers. The controller
Looks like it would
is
be a real fun thing to play with two people.
yeah, having to hold on to it like. Wait, where's my hand? Yeah, hold on to it right there, and then you hold the other side, and then and then we play the game. But that's why it lasted less than a year, I guess, because it was black and white and that. So here you have this came out after. If I remember correctly, it actually came out.
That looks kind of cool. I've never seen that one.
I've got it before the Atari here, but it came out like a month or two after.
I didn't know you had one of the controllers right there.
Oh wow, that's strange. That controller strangely looks like a vape. This was $299 when it came out. It was originally called the Bally Arcade or the Bally ABA 1000. Released in December '77. This thing was released by mail order only until April of '78 when they got it to stores, and then it was discontinued after being bought out almost twice. It was bought out once, almost got bought out twice towards the end of the '70s, and discontinued in '84. Manufactured by Bally Manufacturing and Astrovision. Originally named, I know I said originally named up there, but is also known the Bally Arcade or the Bally ABA 1000. Originally named, my bad, the Bally Home Library Computer, and this was the first one that could support writing. You could write in BASIC, and access BASIC through the console. So
was there like a keyboard attachment?
I guess so.
Or did you have to type it through that?
I didn't see anything. I would guess that there was, because you had, and we'll talk about this in a little bit too, but you had the one for the Intellivision, the Intellicomputer, which I have still, I think.
I mean, you think about all of the older generation these. It seems like they were kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? It wasn't necessarily like just a gaming console, like if you got a PlayStation today. It's like you got that as your home computer too.
Yeah. It didn't last long. I think I don't even know if I wrote down when it got discontinued. No, I didn't.
Because think of like the Commodore 64.
Oh, discontinued in '84, yeah.
Like that and like you could even Commodore 64 and the Apple II are basically like the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And when you look at the Intellicomputer, it's almost the same as those, just a little bit behind. So that leads up to this. Now, this thing, everybody knows what this is, and
that's the PlayStation.
And the really cool thing about it, so you remember looking at
that's one of those plug and play things in the dollar store, right?
Yeah, that's one of those like $10. Everybody knows about the Atari 2600, which originally was just the AVS, Atari AVS.
Isn't it sad that that's what those have become? Is like something that you get all of the games that were made for it for $10, and that's perfectly fine.
It is kind of sad, yeah, because they, at the time, I mean, this thing came out at $200 as well, about $839 in 2019. Original name, like I said, Atari VCS, the video computer system. You will never hear this from anyone else because no one gets to talk about anything else on this day. This thing was released in '77 on September 11th.
Huh.
At 8 o'clock in the morning. No. That's terrible. So...
Same day that Paul McCartney died, too.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Supposedly. Allegedly. What's that from, that Canadian show?
I know the one that you're
Letterkenny. Allegedly. So, the cool thing I think about the Atari was when I was doing my research on it, because it's not like I was there and have just known about it all this time. I'm not that smart. It uses the same microchip processor as the Fairchild did, which is, you know, not generations before it, but a year before it, first of all, and I'm sure Atari hadn't even thought about it at the time. I don't know, what were they doing in 77? In 76,
Atari?
I mean, 76, yeah. Was Jobs working with them at the time?
I think so. I don't know. Wasn't 76 was the year that the Apple I came out, wasn't it? Because then 77, I think, was Apple II.
Yeah, okay, that's right. He worked, okay, so Steve Jobs worked with them during, when they were making Pong and stuff like that, right? Yeah. Because, okay, yeah. Because they were still in first generation. So, by the time this thing is going, he's already not there, and they're using the same 8-bit processor as the Fairchild, which for a Fairchild most of these companies back then they just made their own components because it's that easy. I mean, you know, you and I could build a perfect Apple II if we had $100. So and a circuit store.
We could definitely build an Apple I.
Yeah. We could build an Apple I with the stuff we have
just laying around.
Yeah. So they used the same microchip, but, you know, back then, like I said, everybody kind of made their own. So the Fairchild called theirs the Fairchild F8, which is 8-bit processor. And, see, Atari didn't use their own, but they adopted, what do you call it, the 6507. That's all it's called. It's just an 8-bit processor called the 6507. And I thought that was cool because it's almost like, wow, Fairchild, you guys could have done it right.
Mm-hmm.
And like you guys had the same equipment, and Atari did it better because.
But isn't that how it always goes? Like, you take something and they have the same equipment, but depending on who you've got working on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's always got to be a factor.
I mean, think about the games that were designed for. Like, we're getting back into the later generation stuff here, but like Nintendo and all of the people that they have licensed that can make games for the Nintendo.
Yeah.
And like how one company, like, is it LJN? The one with the rainbow? I think that's it.
I believe so.
Angry Video Game Nerd will know, and he will be upset that we didn't know. But that one, they made the shittiest games, and it was usually movie-based games, and they had nothing to do with the movie. And then you have other companies that will make games, and like the graphics are great, the story's great, and like they've got the same stuff to work with, but one side can just do better.
You're talking about games like Tron Maze Runner. where you're in a maze the whole time, and that's all it is. You're Tron, like you're the one of the dudes from Tron, but you're in a maze, and that's it. That's the game. You get to shoot a gun, which is like, you know, it's canon, but
Yeah.
that's it. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I know the company you're talking about. They had other Tron games too, and these are later. I don't think they had these on the Atari, but yeah. So there you have the Atari, basically a Fairchild, with some tweaks. Obviously, different controller. The Fairchild. Let's go back to it. The Fairchild had that. I don't even know what that is. I'm so confused by that controller layout.
I think it's one of those paddleboard things, like the.
Yeah.
Sort of like that one.
So here we see a little bit more Intellivision-like controllers. They can disconnect. It looks like they looked at the RCA and was like, "Ha, we can do it better than you," and then they failed. But this is really cool.
You
I actually like
most
this.
of these kind of have, other than the RCA, they all kind of have a similar design.
They do. That's why I wanted to look at them.
Which I guess the modern day consoles really do too. And what pisses me off about modern consoles is, like, think of all of the time and effort that's put into just how the console itself looks. How much better could they be if they took all of the money that they put into design, just made it a simple box that's just awesome?
Yeah. We'll actually see some things like that. See, so with this one, I mean, almost the exact same controller. I mean, you've got a number pad there, and see there they just went 3 across, and there they went 4 across.
Yeah.
Very similar. I didn't do much research on the rest of the second-gen games that we're going to talk about, so I don't have any cool facts about these.
That looks like a $10 bargain bin thing.
Yeah. The
I wonder how much that costs.
Interton Electronic VC 4000 video computer.
Because if that thing costs like $1,000 when it came out.
And these are all in chronological order too.
Also, another thing to note
with the exception of Bally Arcade and Atari. I switched those on purpose.
Another thing to mention about all of these, looking at them, they all look like cheap toys.
Mm-hmm. They do. And as you go on, they look even more like cheap toys. They look exact same controller. Exact same controller. Like, just, you know, barely different dimensions. Barely. Not much at all.
I bet that they work together too. And is that seriously like the best model of that they've got left, that even the cord can't be, they couldn't get that sticker off of that cord to take a picture?
This one, I'm starting to like what I see, because it looks here like you can also run BASIC.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know, or doesn't, I don't even know if you care, but for anyone
if they don't know, they don't care, basically.
Not necessarily.
Basically.
I didn't know until I saw the IntelliComputer that was even a thing.
Yeah.
I saw that shit in McKay's and I was like, whoa, I don't know what this is, but I'm spending $50 right now to get it. I don't know what it is. I don't know what I can do with it. And to this day, I know how to use it now. I know how to program a game with BASIC on the Intellivision, but I'm having problems recording it because you have to record it onto tape, and then that tape has to get transferred to a computer somehow, and then the computer
It's not. You can use any tape player, and you don't even have to use a tape player. You just have to have a way to connect that audio into whatever the input is on there. So, like, you could have it run directly from your computer and have it transmit that signal.
Yeah. So this one looks like it could do the same, which is really cool.
And actually, that would be more accurate, because with the tape machines, it's really precise, and like if the tape is going at a different speed, then it's not going to pick up the right.
How you'd speed up the game back then?
Yeah.
Instead of using an emulator. But yeah, that's cool. I like that setup. That's not looking so ugly. Looks like you've got regular Atari controller, Atari style controllers.
It's
along
still
with
really,
built-in
really
keyboard.
cheap controllers and really just
Yeah.
cheap plastic still, which honestly, like, even when you get into Nintendo,
I think the reason that is because back then, up until the 90s, they probably didn't expect people to rage on their games. They probably didn't expect people to. They probably expected parents to.
well, I think it
ensure
also
that their
goes
kids
back
took
to what
better
I was
care.
saying before, which might be the reason, is the design team. They put more money into designing the console and everything, which there's the argument for it.
It's very
because,
Steve Jobs of them.
because this, they probably had like one guy draw it up one day and it's like, all right, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
I might be wrong. They might have had a huge design team on that.
Okay. Okay, I was zoomed out. I was like, what's happening? There we go. So, yeah, right after that, you have the Intellivision. Now, the controller style changes. The other controllers like this are alright, I guess. They're ugly and they're cheap, like they all are, but
Didn't
this
your
one-
dad have something to do with the vision?
we have 3 of them.
I know, but like, didn't he work for one of these companies at some point?
I don't think so.
Or I'm talking about something like that. Like, yeah, when I was working for Intellivision, and
I don't know.
maybe he was just drunk.
Probably. Could have been. My dad used to drink quite a lot. So, this is the first generation. I don't like confusing generations. So, we're still talking about second generation consoles. This is the first edition, It's technically generation, but I'll say edition. Just to, no confusion here. First edition of the Intellivision that came out. There's 3 of them, and they all look the same. They literally all look almost the exact same as this one. I think the wood on the side changed colors. It's not wood. It's just a sticker that looks like wood. The cool thing about the controllers is let's see, did I set it up to show my cursor on there? Okay, cool. So if you look right here at the top, it looks like there's a little space. And for those of you who don't know what this is, there would be pictures that you could slide down in there for each game. It would come in the box. There would be little cards you slid down in there, and it would have little squares and show you what each button did, which I thought was cool. If that's the way you're going to do that shitty controller, that's the way you need to do it.
Mhm.
And so they did that right, which I really liked. I don't know if they made the controllers like that because they didn't have the money to do the better controllers or what. The only thing I think is missing is a really cool joystick right there.
Imagine, which that would be way too much money in retrospect if they did this. But if they made, like how they're doing the Genesis and all of those, and even the PlayStation, how they're doing the smaller.
Mhm.
They did one for the Intellivision, which this is where I realized it cost more. But if they changed it where the controller that came with it was like a touch screen, and so therefore it would change for the game.
That would be cool.
But see, for these simple games, I can't see them putting that kind of money.
Right. Intellivision did have a new console come out, by the way. They released just like all the other companies, they released an all-in-one. And that would have been a really cool addition to that.
Yeah.
That's all I could think about when you said that was like, damn, why didn't they do that? But, it's Intellivision. They probably just didn't have the money. It's not like they've kept their business up to date. So, but yeah, they do have a new release of this console. This is the console the Atari 26, are the 2 out of the second gen that I'd recommend. Like, they're just a must play. You got to play them. This is the console I was talking about having the Intellicomputer.
I've never played it.
The Intellivision?
No. You've had it here, and all this time I've never played. I've never even seen it played.
We're going to have to play it tomorrow. And I might even plug it up in a little bit, and we'll finish the podcast out by playing some of that.
Yeah.
I can't, though, because I can't show it, so we'll figure that out.
Can you?
I've got a video capture card coming to where I can. I've got it should have everything on it to where I can go from the TV to...
Good. Because we need that.
Oh, flicker.
Oh, we just blew out the video light.
One of them may have busted. It's been used for growing a lot of plants. Been used a lot. So next you have, look at Creativision. Creativision looks a lot like the Intellivision. It's just set up a little bit better. So
so it's made by Creative.
is it?
Well, it looks just like their logo.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It probably is. So Creativision, the differences here, I really like. I wanted the joystick on the Intellivision.
That was my first MP3 player. I had the option between the Creative and the iPod.
Oh, nice.
And I chose the Creative because it had more storage on it.
I always wanted
time.
a Zune, but I could never get one.
The funny thing about that was, like,
I was stuck with iPods.
I liked the iPod, and I didn't realize, like, I don't know if at the time when I got the Creative, the Nomad was the name of it, I think.
The Nomad.
Yeah. I don't remember if at the time iPods had the album artwork on it or anything, but I do know that, like, the next year Dennis got an iPod, and it was like the 5th gen iPod. So surely I think that the iPod Photo had to have been out when
right before iPhone came out, or a few years before iPhone came out.
It was like 2000. I mean, it had to be before 2005 because I know that I got it before my parents divorced.
Okay, I got you. I don't really understand some of these buttons, but I like them. You have, like, a very small portion of a QWERTY keyboard. Oh, okay. So this thing may have run BASIC as well. Look, if you use both controllers, you've got the whole keyboard there. And it looks like they may have had slips as well, where you could slide the... I think that's exactly what they did. They had slips as well. So this is Creative's version of the Intellivision.
Yeah.
Looks like.
Just a big phony.
And honestly, it looks a little bit better.
It does look better.
I might try to look for one of these. This thing looks cool. I really like that.
I like that it's got the QWERTY keyboard.
This thing I thought was interesting. This is a Japanese-only console.
That's starting to actually look like a cool design to me.
It's called, it's the Epoch TV game Cassette Vision.
Like that looks like it could be like a synth right there. That.
So, Cassette Vision, ironically enough, does not refer to a cassette, but refers to... it's a Japanese contemporary synonym for ROM cartridge. So there you have that.
But I mean, cartridge and cassette
are similar, almost the same.
The same thing.
ROM cartridge, runs off of a tiny motherboard, and then
a cassette is a cartridge. So
technically, yeah. I don't know anything about this console other than what I just said. At all. I just think I thought it was cool to show it.
And it sounds cool.
Looks cool, sounds cool, probably shit.
I like to dance to it.
But right after that, like I said, these are all in chronological order.
That looks just like an Intellivision. Except
right after that, yeah. Arcadia 2001.
So did Intellivision just kind of like... Why does it seem like I only know about Intellivision because of you? Well, why is it like not a... why did more people not talk about it?
I never understood it either, because if we go back, and like I said, chronological order here, it's not too different from some of these that people know. So,
I mean,
nobody knows these, but
so far of the ones that you've shown, the only ones that I have ever seen are the Atari and the Intellivision.
Yeah, same. And when I was doing the research, it was the exact same thing, and I realized they were all similar. After that, furthermore, I realized they were all just copying each other back then.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all they had to do because, BASIC is a new program at the time, and you're dealing with a bunch of people trying to learn a new language. BASIC is a new language at the time, and people are trying to understand it, and then they're also trying to keep up with the market, so I have a feeling that's what happened.
One thing I've tried, like, it seems...
Let's go back to one.
One thing I haven't been able to figure out is how, like, different languages like that, like BASIC, Java, DOS, how do they get the information to know what to take out of the code in the first place?
That is my favorite thing about technology, because no matter how much you learn, it's still a mystery.
Yeah. And
it really doesn't make sense. No, like, why does 5 1s, 4 zeros, and another 1 mean this? Or why does the computer make the character run when I say run?
Who comes up with the language in the first place, and how does that language get fed to the computer in the first place so that it knows to take the input that you're taking.
Yeah.
Who's doing that? Who's the one doing that?
Yeah. It's a really weird concept because now you have Grand Theft Auto 5 where it's like, Jesus Christ, you have
like here
thousands.
we are sitting trying to figure out how BASIC works, and like they're already But the thing is, I don't think that even some of the people creating stuff like that necessarily know how that works. I think it's just kind of like,
well, they just have the programs to create it with.
Yeah. So who's creating these programs is what I want to know. Who are these people?
Yeah, exactly. Because when you find these people that made the Arcadia 2, or the Cassette Vision, or the Creativision, or any of them, it's awkward because I don't know where I was going to go with that. Cut that out. But
well, how did they get that language into the system in the first place?
Yeah, what makes a soldering gun and a small, piece of lithium battery or a small piece of whatever the hell makes a microchip?
Yeah.
Like,
I understand. It's kind of like biology for me. I don't understand molecular biology at all. It doesn't make sense when you get it down to the very atomic level.
Right. And I don't think anything does.
When you get to the bigger picture, it makes more sense.
Right.
But when you're talking about, like, how does this dot and that dot soldered together, knowing what the fuck does it mean?
It's weird to me because, like I said, you've got Grand Theft Auto 5, you've got thousands of NPCs doing something. So that's thousands of non-important characters, non-important objects in the game that are working. And when you dissect everything, you're left with a program. Okay, dissect the program. What makes it do this? What makes it do that? And how far they've come.
Which the characters doing something in the background, if they're not on screen, it's not like taking that huge of a toll. It's just the script is going through and they're doing stuff. So
I think essentially what it is, I can't break it down either, but I think once you have the program to create, then you can write BASIC and all that. I think what happened over the years is, when you create 3D technology, then all you have to do is multiply it, because then all you're working on is resolution and adding more pixels.
Mm-hmm.
So, which are the same thing, I think. So,
when it comes down to it, like, graphics are really all that have progressed.
But they haven't. They've just multiplied.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it that way, it's not like graphics have gotten better. Sure, from 2D to 3D, yeah, we were able to add a dimension. But after that, they've been the same the whole time. They've been written in the same language.
Well, you have
They're
like
just
the polygons
more pixels,
and
so you
stuff.
can add more. You have, so for older games, you had what, sprites? I think that's what they're called.
Mm-hmm.
And for newer games, you have shapes and polygons and whatever else. Because I'm not a programmer, I don't know, but
I know, like, the first 3D games, like on Nintendo 64 and PlayStation, it was all like polygons.
Yeah.
And I don't know what they've progressed to at this point.
There's still polygons. Like if you take a screenshot, like the most high definition screenshot you can get of a Grand Theft Auto 5 scene, and zoom in, there's still polygons.
Mm-hmm.
They're just multiplied. That's why I think that the graphics haven't really changed since N64, since even Super Nintendo when they released a couple 3D games. I don't think they've changed. I think the whole idea after that is just, okay, well, if you multiply this by 1,000, it's going to look like a curve instead of a,
I mean, that's how
digital everything works, I think.
Yeah. I mean, audio, the high resolution, so it's instead of like 16-bit 44K like a CD, where it's like that for the wave.
Mm-hmm.
The more resolution that you put into it, the smaller bits that you're getting is making it more of a natural analog wavelength.
Yeah. Interesting. Digital is just
blessing, us getting closer and closer to real.
Well, Elon says that if you can create all these things, then there's no reason we shouldn't be or aren't in a simulation. And then he talks about how boring the simulation is, like outside of it, because Joe is like, well, what happens if, what's on the outside of the simulation? And he said, is it interesting? Is it better than this? And Elon says, most likely no. because we create simulations. Like, why create a simulation to be more boring than you are? So, like, everything we create is a simulation. Like movies, games, music, they're all simulations that are better than what life really is here. That's why we're artists. So if if we are a simulation in reality and we take ourselves out of that, it's probably very boring, and it probably has a lot to do with the numbers and technical things that nobody wants to care about.
Speaking of Elon Musk, when you were showing me that podcast of him talking about the microchips and I'm thinking about at the time how crazy that sounds, and like that's just no one's gonna go for that. But then like I related it to stuff that's actually here. Like I'm thinking of cochlear implants.
Yeah.
That's the same thing, except it's an improvement on the cochlear implant.
Exactly.
Basically.
Exactly. It's the exact same thing. So with a cochlear implant, and this is way off topic, but I don't care. With a cochlear implant, you've got what is it? It's just a device that hangs on your ear or inside of your ear.
And they cut open and they make a spot in your skull that has the electronics on the inside that's shooting to your nerves. So
essentially, it's the Neuralink, but designed specifically for hearing.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's probably not even designed specifically for hearing.
And it seems like that would be
the device on the outside is what's designed for hearing. The thing on the inside is probably the exact same thing as the Neuralink.
So it's just an improvement on that.
Yeah.
So it's not any kind of wild idea that he had. He just
improved on things that were already, which
is how technology works.
Yeah, yeah. Which is why I don't like it when people say Scarface was copying Vice City. Because you just have to. If you're an artist and you're creating anything, you have to have influence.
And with music, I mean, every chord progression, every melody has already been done at some point by someone in all of the years that we have been, humans.
There's a running joke in the metal community that Tony Iommi of Black Sabbath already wrote every metal riff. Like literally, there's so many metal artists that will say Tony Iommi wrote every metal riff. We're just rearranging them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not true, but it's true.
Yeah.
It's something that has validity inside the statement.
Tony Iommi copied Beethoven.
Yeah,
Mozart.
Beethoven, classical. I mean, he says that was his main inspiration for Black Sabbath was classical music.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic.
And then Beethoven copied the monks.
Yeah. So, kind of going back, you've got all these that look just like the Intellivision. And I want to play some of these now that I know. Like that Colecovision, there's a big one. That's one you've seen. Everybody's seen Colecovision, right?
I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
I saw it on Family Guy. Essentially, it's your Intellivision. You got ROM cartridges. This thing does not move, it spins. So, with the Intellivision, you just pressed it down, like as a D-pad. You wouldn't turn that. That thing does turn, but it's just a D-pad that looks like a circle. I don't know why. I don't know why it turns either, because it doesn't work like that. This one, however,
so it
does.
Basically has functionality that doesn't even function.
Yeah. This one does, I believe. I think you can push it and turn it. I don't remember exactly. I know you can push it, and I know you can turn it, but I don't remember if they both do something. I've only played a ColecoVision like one time, I think, and it was in a... it was the only time I've ever seen one. It was in a flea market.
That one.
Other than that, I've only seen him on Family Guy when he pulls it out of his stomach.
That one in the old Kinder's Furniture Mall.
Yeah. So here it looks like
what's funny that now we're getting really off topic, but think about that store. Like they had commercials, they had their own theme song, Kinder's Furniture Mall, the everything store. They had all of that, and now they're just nothing.
Yeah, nothing. Because furniture stores, people, are really just money laundering scheme. That's my own personal theory. There is a personal theory, not a personal, this isn't me, somebody else.
So I was part of a money laundering scheme at Rooms to Go?
There is a huge theory that, and I think it's true, that Mattress Firm? Yeah, Mattress Firm.
Mm-hmm.
There's a huge theory that Mattress Firm is part of a money laundering
They've
scheme.
been set up side by side.
Yeah, they've got them. So, like, any place you see a mattress from, go 2 blocks over, you'll see another one, guaranteed 100%. I swear to God, there's 2 in Fordo. There's like 8 in, I think there's 6, exaggerating a little bit. There's like 5 or 6 in Chattanooga. Any big city that has a mattress from, you're going to find multiples. So, once someone brought this up to somebody in some legal land somewhere, I don't know if it was overseas or here, it was investigated, and as soon as the investigation starts, the owners and CEO of the company leave. They step down before it's a proper, we have warrants and we can look at your files. Before it was that, they left.
Didn't that come up as a legitimate thing, not just like a conspiracy?
It did. Yeah, it did, but it was never proven.
Oh.
Because the company's still there. They still exist. I think what happened is the owners for sure were using it as a money. Because think about it, it's a mattress. Everybody needs one. How easy is it to fake sell a mattress? I'm not trying to give anybody ideas, but look. If you're laundering money and you own your own business, that's the way to do it. Like, anybody who's going to launder money properly owns their own business. I've never met anyone, I don't think I've ever met anyone who launders money, which I don't anymore, but anybody who launders money knows that, you've got to own a business to do that. So, back to the Apple II. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not the Apple II. That is, how do you say that? Let's see, I've got it on here. Honorable mentions. Where are we at here?
I'll be back in a second.
All right, so we have talked about all kind of things. We've talked about video games, music, movies.
We just don't know how to stay on topic.
Well, that's why I have to have a freeform podcast like Joe's. And I know everybody knows that I mention Joe Rogan a lot. It's not his it's not him that I'm in love with.
We don't need to have a topic. We just need to have a jumping off point. So
exactly. It's better that way. Trust me.
Because if we've planned to talk about all of these systems and the chronology and everything, that
we might as well just make a documentary.
Yeah.
It's not worth doing a podcast unless you're wanting to discuss and literally, talk opinion and blah, blah, blah. But, so, we've talked about all these things, and I'm only going to show you 2 more consoles, and then I guess we'll wrap it up.
I think that maybe from now on with the podcast, if we've got someone else and we've got a topic, we're talking to them. But if it's just you and me, I think that we don't need to have even a starting point. We can just be like, came up with like, I had this idea that you hear about this.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what Joe does. He just lets them sit down, and he's just like he just starts talking to them, and like 30 seconds into just saying, hey, how's it going? Jamie hits record, and then they just start going. And they're just like, oh, okay, well, we're live. What's up, man? How you doing? They're like, how you been today? And that's it. That's the whole, and then they just go from there, and every now and then he'll have somebody who will plug something.
Yeah.
But that's that's what happens when you get guests. Like, he'll be like, hey, tell him about what you're doing right now, blah blah blah, or what is it you're up to these days, blah blah blah.
But see, that's still freeform. So it doesn't matter that you're plugging something necessarily, but it's not like even with like late night talk shows like that, they've still got bullet points and stuff. We don't necessarily need to do that.
Right.
We don't need to stay on a topic. We can talk about anything we want, as long as it's interesting to listen to. That's the whole point of the podcast. It's not like, I don't know many people that are tuning into most podcasts unless it's like a specific genre. Like, okay, I'm listening to this person because they're talking about like true crime or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's why I solely watch Joe and don't listen to other podcasts. Like, okay, so I can't say that wholeheartedly or 100% because Hannah does listen to true crime podcasts a lot, and I listen to them with her, and they're interesting and things like that. But to me,
see, the ones
I like more opinionated podcasts.
I like them like that are even less structured, basically like how ours are, where we can talk about, oh no, like I watch a bunch of YouTubers that do podcasts.
Yeah.
So
I wish I was more into the podcasting world. I'm just not. I I like talk shows. I like being able to see the person, and like that's another reason I like Joe. Like, there's a lot of podcasts where you can see the people, but
Yeah.
there are, I'd say, the majority of podcasts are just audio.
Yeah.
And I understand that. It's not everybody wants to take the time to set up all the video and everything. So they would just rather the story get out there than anything else. But
And
I like the
I
talk
like
show
the
setting.
fact that the way that we've got it set up where it could be consumed either way, because we've got a good sound. Like, listening to it on its own sounds good.
Yeah.
And the video, actually, I think the sound is definitely much better than the video is right now. So if people were just listening to us, I think that we would sound like as good as you could ask for. So
Probably, yeah. I mean, we've got the microphones for it,
Yeah.
So, with these last two consoles that we're going to look at, and I don't know much about these. This one right here, I'm just calling the Apple II. It's called the Vectrex, I think. Vectrex, Vectrex. I call it the video game console version of the Apple II because it's as far as I know, it's the only all-in-one, and I've never seen it or heard of it.
Yeah.
Until last night. It looks like a cool.
That would be more like the video game Macintosh, really.
Did they have one?
Well,
or no, that's what you're calling it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. The video game Macintosh was.
Yeah, because that's the one that had the monitor and everything. The Apple II was just, you still had to get everything for it.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought the Apple II was the first one to have, like, it was just detachable keyboard and mouse, and the rest of it was all in one. No?
Nope, that's the Macintosh.
I don't know.
Look it up.
I will. We're going to look it up.
Because the Macintosh looks almost like that. I have a Macintosh.
Okay, well then I believe you. So
the Apple II looks more like an Atari.
So after that, yeah, you're right. You're right. It's a different screen. Okay, never mind. The Apple II was a box, and then you had the keyboard. It was the
right. But really, the Macintosh isn't even the first of that. The Lisa is more so, but the Macintosh was the first all-in-one for the masses.
You know what? Screw all this mainstream technology. Let's talk about the next. Let's talk about next computers.
I really want to. I have the Macintosh, but I got it intentionally because it didn't work, and I wanted the box to make a Hackintosh out of. And it turns out that you can get like a screen replacement for the first generation iPad, and it's the exact size of the spot that's in there, so you can do that, get a converter that makes it VGA, plug it in, and then you can get everything and connect it like that. So that's what I'm planning on doing, but I haven't done it yet, and I've had that since 2015. And
okay. I love the idea of hacking things like that. Random things.
You know, I kind of got sidetracked with my divorce. I was going to do that with my Christmas money from that year, but instead I got a divorce.
I was there for that.
And a bankruptcy.
So after the Mac gaming console, which is the Vectrex, you got the Gackin. This is the last. This is the last of what we consider the second gen consoles, and I believe the classification of second gen, first gen, all that is just the equipment used inside of them. Because obviously they're all very different. Not all of them, but they've got some different cool ideas here, some not so cool. But
I think that
this one's a fucking telephone.
First gen, second gen, and everything, it gets a little bit more clearer after the first gen.
Yeah, well, yeah. First gen, well,
like you can think about let's start at Nintendo. That's clearly like the start of like the generation after this.
Yeah, Nintendo.
And
Famicom is third gen and on.
And then you've got Super Nintendo, which would be like the next one, and then you start to see the progression a lot easier.
Right.
From there.
With these, as I was saying earlier, it's different because you had so many people making them, and you had not that many games. You had like 100.
I would call everything up to the Nintendo first gen.
Yeah. That would be mine too, but
is it not?
No, the classification, everything before ROM cartridges is first gen. ROM cartridges up to...
See, I think you're getting into the territory of like different sects of religion, Like,
right. It's some gamers would probably have that kind of argument with it.
And honestly, think about like the people that are on the side of PlayStation versus Xbox and Nintendo and everything. It really is exactly that.
Yeah. Let me pull this up real quick.
We're talking about you guys. You guys are pieces of shit.
I don't like the Xbox and PlayStation argument. I never have and I never will because
Why can't we just play everything?
Yeah, I like both. Look.
Well, I'll be honest, I've never seen a game on the Xbox that that wasn't on the PlayStation that I wanted to play. I haven't ever played Halo. That's the only one I can think of that stands out as something that's on the Xbox and not on PlayStation.
Yeah.
But Halo, to me, I haven't seen it. I don't know actually how it plays. It seems like it's just Call of Duty. So is it?
First generation is...
You're not going to talk.
Sorry. Say that again.
So, isn't Halo just basically Call of Duty?
Yeah, it's Call of Duty, but with aliens.
Okay.
There is a really good storyline to Halo. Actually, I love Halo. It's a lot better than Call of Duty because of the storyline, because of what it represents.
So Halo is worth getting an Xbox to play.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just like any PlayStation.
But at the same time, the Xbox controller I prefer to the PlayStation. But I like if I could play PlayStation Xbox controller.
And that's why we get a PC. Because then you can. So the second generation, which is the consoles we were talking about today, they ended in 83 at the video game crash of 83 because of the Atari. And now that we're looking at all of these shitty consoles that were mass-produced, by the way, mass-produced and did not sell, they were probably also... They probably factored in with the video game crash of 83 as well, not just Atari. Atari probably had a lot to do with it because of the news coverage that E.T. got.
Right.
Everybody hated E.T. so much it made national news.
Everything was so, like, we don't care about quality. Just get it out there and they'll play anything.
So all of your original 8-bit consoles are going to be considered second generation. Third generation, there were a total of 23 home video consoles released for third generation. These are when we start remembering.
So that video pack that you were looking at before is part of...
Yeah, that was part of...
So the one that you said it started to look like it was actually a good game system.
That's also the video pack G7400, third generation, blah, blah, blah. Release as the Odyssey Command Center. That's only in Europe. An American release as the Odyssey Command Center was planned but never occurred.
I thought there was an Odyssey, though. Is that something else that came out?
Magnavox Odyssey. Or is that right?
Well,
am I wrong?
Philips is Magnavox. So
okay, well, yeah. So yeah, and I don't know how well y'all can see this, but you probably can't. But there's 23 home consoles considered third generation. It ends with the Commodore 64. Starts with the video pack, but the biggest ones you're going to see are the Famicom and the Famicom, which is the Nintendo Family Computer, which is also the NES. Released as the Famicom in Japan in 83 and then 85 in the US as the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Why does that say it goes to 2003? I don't see anything there that's past 1990, and I'm surprised to see that there's anything...
Where?
It says 83 to 2003.
Oh, because they stopped... there's one of these, I don't know which one, but one of these stopped producing in 2003. Yeah, the game... So the Atari 2600, even though they stopped doing everything for it in like the late 80s, they didn't stop making the console until 92.
It doesn't show there when.
Well, I can pull up. We'll pull up the latest one, and we'll go back to the Nintendo. Some of the more famous ones.
Because I know that you could there were bootleg games for the NES that came out in like 1998 or something like that.
Right.
Like
hardware-based problems. My phone here. Good. Nope. Primary reasons for failure. This is about the Commodore 64 released. in 1990. Prior to the console's release, Commodore... I'm reading off of Wikipedia, by the way. Prior to the console's release, Commodore had generated a great deal of marketing hype to generate interest. Blah, blah, blah.
Discontinued, it'll show there.
There you go. Okay, that's why it says 2003. The Famicom ran until 2003. The NES stopped in 95. So they're the same console, but Japanese-American. NES stopped in 95, and Famicom stops in 2003. Alright, so... I don't even know why I'm showing that on the screen. Can't read it. So yeah, third gen technically ran to 2003 because of the Famicom in Japan. So third generation was, you know, NES, all of that up to the Commodore 64, which Commodore 64 should really be considered a second gen game console because it was using equipment from second gen.
Thought it was.
No, it's considered a third gen because it came out in 1990.
No, that's not the Commodore 64. That's the 64 GS.
Oh. So did we look at the Commodore 64 earlier?
No.
So it must not. It didn't do ROMs, did it?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that was one of the ones that was cassettes and code and everything.
Look for it in here.
I know that it did that. I don't know if it had a cartridge.
There's Coleco. There we go. The first Commodores were made in 75.
Oh, we're looking for Commodore 64
Right.
specifically.
Release date 82. So why? I bet you I'm just an idiot. And if I go here, in my second gens, open the whole page, I bet it's in there. Oh, cool. This has comparisons and everything. I like this way better than what I was looking at.
I'm surprised, though, it doesn't have.
There's got to be a reason, because anybody who would know all of these to edit this page doesn't not know about the Commodore.
Yeah.
So it's somewhere. It's just not considered. I don't know why. We'll find out. Because we're definitely going to have to make more episodes on this. Because it's a long conversation. Multiple, apparently. So yeah, your second generation games are the ones we talked about today. Your third generation, you're getting into Nintendo. And fourth generation, you're getting into Super Nintendo and Sega, Genesis era, and all of that. And then I assume fifth gen is going to be, fifth gen is probably N64 and PlayStation and GameCube? I wonder if they would consider that fifth gen or sixth gen.
Probably. N64 is part of this.
Either way, it's been fun talking about it. We're done for the day.
We've got too much to talk about and too little time. So we'll see you on the flip side.
Definitely do this some more. So talk about this some more anyways. It's not over.
We will definitely be doing more of this, but we'll definitely be doing more of this topic.
So bye everyone.
Bye-bye in Radioland.